Revenge can transform a suburban mother into a calculated assassin.
Wow, honey, you are a hotshot.
This is a woman who was not able to take rejection on any level.
Consumed by lethal vengeance, this mom's next target will be flesh and blood.
It was an incredibly cold-blooded killing.
Richmond, Virginia, 1999. 40-year-old Piper Roundtree is on a downward slide.
I think Piper became increasingly unstable over a period of years.
Crime writer Catherine Casey investigated Piper's volatile psyche.
Piper had a personality disorder, a narcissistic personality disorder.
The disorder makes Piper self-obsessed, unable to see her own faults.
Piper saw herself as a great lawyer, and she was never a great lawyer. And Piper saw herself as a great mother, and she was really never a great mother.
What are you doing?
That's just a little drink in the afternoon.
Pills and alcohol?
That reality is beginning to dawn on Piper's husband of 17 years, Fred Jablin.
Fred had an early marriage and it had failed, and he was deeply wounded by it, and he never wanted that to happen again.
Hey, everybody, come get someone's over it.
Piper and Fred hadn't always been unhappy.
Sure, use this.
Yeah?
This is great.
Their young family grew from a loving romance.
I don't know, we'll think about it.
They married after the first year, and they looked like they were very happy. People in Fred's office said that she made him human in a way.
A sleeper, that's nice. Pool party, I don't know. You think?
And everybody thought maybe he would be really good for Piper because he had that strength and that rigidity about him that she just totally lacked.
But Fred is about to make a painful discovery.
What are you doing?
Hi, I'm getting
What's
ready
this?
to go. I'm going out for lunch with the girls. Nothing special.
You're seeing somebody else, aren't you?
God's sake, Fred.
Fred learned that Piper was having an affair with a doctor in Richmond. And that was something that Fred couldn't turn his back on.
You know what, Fred? I'm going out.
Yeah, you know, that's fine. Yeah, just get out.
Bye, Fred.
Get out!
Fred files for divorce and plants a seed of vengeance.
Thousands upon thousands of married couples split up and divorce every year in this country, and rarely does it end in homicide.
I'm so angry.
Piper blames Fred for ruining their marriage and her life.
I got away with that, I don't know, but I'm telling you now, Tina, I'm gonna get
When he gains custody of their 3 children, it's the last straw.
taking care of the kids. I sacrificed my career for him. I did so much for him.
She lost the kids, and that couldn't happen to Piper. That just couldn't happen. She lost everything when she lost the kids. They were her self-image.
I'm sorry, I'm just so angry.
Living with her sister Tina in Houston, Piper becomes obsessed with revenge.
I want to kill him. How else am I going to get my hands back? What am I going to do? What am I going to do without my kids?
Fred Jablin seemed to have everything. His life was going very well.
All right, I'm gonna fix it right now. Let me just see. All right.
Piper Roundtree's life was in disarray, and I think she was desperate without her children.
Told you. Okay, excellent.
Attorney Wade Kaiser believes Piper's desperation set a deadly plan in motion.
We know that Piper Roundtree visited a shooting range in Houston, Texas, the week before this murder.
Piper practices with a .38 caliber revolver. Coldly, deliberately, she is rehearsing a homicide.
Piper had a single-minded passion, and it was to get her ex-husband in the grave.
In the leafy suburbs of Richmond, Virginia, a body shot to death before dawn.
It seemed like it was a planned hit or someone intentionally went there to kill him.
The victim is Fred Jablin, respected professor, father of 3, recently divorced.
A number of people had said, well, the first suspect I'd look at would be the ex-wife.
The day after the murder, Sergeant Breck McDaniel interviews Fred Jablin's ex-wife, 1,500 miles away in Houston, Texas.
She was entrenched in the statement that I was in Galveston, I was in Houston, I did not leave Texas, and she didn't waver from that. She stuck to her guns and she wasn't changing it.
Piper Roundtree is lying, concealing a crime of deep premeditation.
I was a homicide detective for almost 6 years, working murders full-time, and worked on a lot of murders. And Piper's plan was the most elaborate I can think of.
Excellent. Get this back to you. Okay.
Fred Jablin believes his ex-wife is in Houston. But she's just around the corner.
Well, before she left, she bought 2 wigs, a blonde wig and a red wig. And the blonde wig looked a little bit like her sister Tina's hair. And the red wig, she held in reserve for her escape.
How can I help you? I'd like a room for 2 nights, please.
Sure, just to start, can I get some ID?
Piper has traveled to Richmond using her sister Tina's identity. And she uses a false name to sign in at a hotel.
Here you go, 220. Enjoy yourself.
The clerk at the hotel she stayed at nearby the murder scene commented on her behavior and how odd it was that she was wearing this wig and like she wouldn't make eye contact. So almost she drew more attention to herself in an effort to disguise herself than if she just behaved normally.
The cell phone is another mistake.
Piper was a cell phone addict. She was on the phone all the time. They were able to pinpoint them, and they knew that somebody was on Piper's cell phone in the Richmond area.
No. Mom is in Galveston.
We knew that she was the one using the telephone because her children had talked to her, recognized her voice.
Okay, bye.
Piper Roundtree is on a mission of lethal vengeance.
Fred, I hate you. I'm going to get my kids back and you're going to be dead in your grave. I'm going to kill you, Fred.
Her children will lose their father in a violent shooting. Because Piper has to place her own feelings first.
Piper's a narcissist. She's a true narcissist. And a true narcissist really doesn't think about how other people feel. And in this instance, I don't believe she ever really thought it through. I don't think she ever realized the effect it would have on her children. She only thought about what would make her happy.
She's already chosen the exact moment to strike.
We know that she was aware of her husband's routine of waking up early, making coffee, and going out to the street to pick up the newspaper.
On this Saturday morning, the news is all bad.
Who's that?
You know who it is, Fred.
The last thing Fred would have seen was Piper holding that gun, and it was an incredibly cold-blooded killing.
Piper flies back to Houston right after the murder. Her mission accomplished, she thinks she's left no trace.
This is a murder by a classic narcissist. She was so arrogant in thinking that she could get away with this that she paid no attention to the details.
She left a very long trail of circumstantial evidence regarding the purchase of wigs, the rental of cars, using identifications that not hers, of going to gun ranges to practice firearm shooting, things of that nature. Checking a gun at the airport on the way up there, but not checking one on the way back. Clue.
Piper is arrested just days after the killing. The evidence against her is overwhelming. She will spend the rest of her life separated from her children, behind bars.
The most tragic part of this case is what she has done to the lives of her own 3 children. Not only did she take their father away in a cold-blooded execution-type killing, but the stigma of what she has done has got to weigh heavily on these 3 kids and will for the rest of their lives.
For some women, killing can become a lifestyle choice.
Most people that get involved in violent crime had horrendous childhoods and suffered a lot of abuse. Other people that get involved in violent crime were just born bad.
In a Mexican jail in 1969, one woman rules the yard. Fearful inmates have given her a special name.
It was La Pistolera, which roughly translates into the woman gunfighter.
No one defies La Pistolera and lives to tell the tale.
She took what she wanted. If you got in her way, you could be dead.
Nine years earlier, in Independence, Missouri,
Oh, yeah. Come on.
20-year-old Sharon Kenny is locked in a loveless marriage.
She fancied herself somebody greater. She married a young college man with the idea that he could spirit her away. He was going to be her knight in shining armor.
Sharon isn't interested in the life of a 1960s housewife.
Sharon didn't like the religious attitudes of her husband, James. And so from that point on, it started deteriorating.
Is that you, Sharon?
Husband James wants a divorce.
I'm talking to you. Well, you're not talking to me? Oh, hey. Well, you don't
His
say
wife
hello,
is more interested in cashing in his life insurance with a bullet.
You're a whore.
$25,000 in 1960 was a lot of money. And she wanted the money. Plus, she wanted to be able to continue her promiscuous lifestyle without hindrance from her religious husband.
For the first time, she feels the thrill of the kill. It won't be the last.
She was amazed at how she felt the adrenaline rush of murdering her husband.
When police investigate her husband's death, she coolly pins the killing on her own daughter.
She called the police department and said that Dana Kenny, James's 2.5-year-old daughter, had accidentally shot her father while she was playing with the gun.
The heavily oiled weapon has no fingerprints. Dubious police accept her story. Sharon gets away with murder.
Dana could have fired the pistol, so they ruled it an accidental homicide.
From now on, Sharon Kenny will live her life by the law of the gun.
Sharon Kenny was a sociopath. She had no guilt, no remorse about hurting anyone. She had no empathy for human life other than her own.
One month later, widow Sharon has her insurance payout, a new life, and a new man. Car salesman Walter Jones.
Walter was married to a very beautiful woman named Patricia, and they had 2 children.
Sharon wants Walter all to herself.
Well, I thought that maybe we'd get married and have a family.
I'm already married.
Well, leave your wife.
I'm not leaving my wife. I got responsibilities.
She announced to him then that she was pregnant.
You need to take more
He threw a
responsibility
fit.
for yourself. I'm not having this conversation with you.
Walter Jones is playing with a deadly woman. She'll get her way with murder.
Sharon Kenny wanted what Sharon Kenny wanted, and she wanted it now.
I hate you.
Sharon Kenny is a housewife who's traded life in the suburbs for a life of crime.
She didn't want to be a normal, average American woman. She wanted excitement, and crime gave that to her.
Just months after shooting her husband, Sharon's having problems with her new lover, Walter Jones.
I hate you.
He doesn't want to leave his wife, Patricia. Sharon has a solution to people like Mrs. Jones. She kills them.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Just do it. Get out.
She lures Patricia to a secluded lane.
Move around to the front of the car. Keep moving.
This deadly sociopath doesn't think twice before taking another innocent life.
Get down. Turn around.
Police discover that Sharon is the last person to see Patricia alive. They arrest her on suspicion of murder.
It was my sister-in-law, and I loved her dearly. She was absolutely precious. She was very precious.
Walter Jones' sister Joyce was just 12 when Patricia was killed. She'll never forget the moment she locked eyes with Sharon Kenny in court.
She looked at me, and it just felt like her eyes just pierced right through my soul. It was the creepiest thing. She looked evil.
Walter Jones never forgot Sharon Kenny either.
I remember every time he would come to visit, he would always wake up screaming her name.
In court, she causes other nightmares.
Sharon Kenny was found not guilty. And one of the reasons she was found not guilty is because they never found the murder weapon.
Set free, Sharon embraces the criminal life, spending the next few years running with the mafia in Kansas City. Then she heads to Mexico.
Oh my God.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
What else would you
She meets a man by the name of Francisco Parades Ordonez.
want to have some more fun?
Yeah.
He's met the wrong girl.
What do you
This was her chance to mug this guy, take his wallet and his car keys, and head back north.
This time, she doesn't beat the law.
Sharon was very flippant. Yeah, I'm going to get out of this. Yeah, I'm invincible. Yeah, I'm bulletproof.
A Mexican court finds Sharon Kenny guilty of murder and gives her 10 years in prison. But a foreign jail is no match for this deadly woman.
On December 7th, 1969, upon the conclusion of a very busy visiting hours, visiting Sunday, when the guards did a bed check of all the cells, Sharon Kenny's cell was empty.
The one they call La Pistolera is gone.
That's quite a feat, and she pulled it off. That's the kind of person she was. Nothing could stand in her way, not even prison.
No trace of her has ever been found.
I do not believe she's dead. I believe that anybody as smart and crafty as Sharon Kenny would still be out there.
La Jolla, San Diego. November 2000.
Hey, I'm home.
24-year-old Kristin Rossum discovers an eerie recreation from her favorite film, American Beauty.
Greg?
Husband Greg is sprawled on the bed.
Greg.
Rose petals strewn all over his body, with a wedding picture of the two of them dramatically displayed.
Greg!
She went to the bed and found him cold and not breathing, so she called 911.
It looks like suicide, but they've only been married a few months. The perfect couple,
My husband's not breathing.
with the brightest of futures.
chest.
Why would he take his own life?
According to Kristin, she told Greg that she was planning to leave him.
Greg was distraught about their relationship, about the impending end of their relationship, and he had overdosed. The authorities were going to buy off on this idea that Greg had just taken drugs that ultimately killed him.
But this bed of roses hides a darker story.
Brilliant, beautiful young woman, but obviously with a troubled and perhaps evil side to her.
Researching Kristin Rossum's history, journalist Caitlin Rother finds a girl driven to succeed.
She was a former ballerina, former child model. She grew up as a perfectionist, the daughter of 2 academics. And she was raised with pressure to perform.
She does perform, landing a high-flying job as a toxicologist.
Kristin was working with the San Diego County Office of the Medical Examiner, dealing with chemicals in the body that could be the cause of death.
But to prosecuting attorney John Gomez, she's the worst person for the job.
Kristin Rossum had a lot going for her, but the one thing really working against her was her addiction to methamphetamine.
Kristin was 16, and she started using methamphetamine when a friend introduced it to her. And she just felt this euphoria, and she wanted to use it again.
Can you clean your room? What? Can you clean your room? No.
People can be addicted after even one dose because it causes a rush of euphoria.
I might just do that.
It starts a whole cascade of events in the central nervous system that makes you feel absolutely wonderful.
Once addicted, users are on a deadly downward slide.
Over time, with a methamphetamine addict, the same dose will become less effective. The brain, which has now become dependent on this, becomes very depressed when we don't get it. So it's an absolutely incredible and very dangerous drug.
Growing up, Kristin has trouble shaking her addiction. But a new boyfriend brings new hope.
Greg DeVillers was a nice boy from a nice family, the son of a doctor. It was love at first sight, at least for him. Kristin did have some doubts about getting married to Greg. She spoke with her parents, and they thought, well, he was so good for her. They thought he was her saving angel because he helped her get off meth. So they were encouraging her, and so she went ahead with it.
Do the whole thing. Hello.
Only months after the wedding vows, Kristin is surrounded by new temptation. Her workplace is a candy store of drugs and forbidden love.
Divorcing her husband would have been messy, and everyone would have eventually known she was leaving her husband for another man. By killing him, she could assume the role of the tortured, grieving widow.
Kristin Rossum is a glamorous 26-year-old who appears to have it all. A successful career and a doting husband. But forbidden love has turned her life into a lie.
Michael Robertson was Kristin Rossum's boss and lover, a charming, good-looking guy that entered into a relationship with this young woman that became serious.
Kristin and Michael were carrying on their affair in emails, in cards, and in letters.
Okay, have a good night.
And they could also be seen just looking at each other adoringly. So people in the office knew that they were having this affair.
Hey, honey. Happy birthday.
Husband Greg is at a loss. The love of his life seems to be slipping away. He discovers she's back on drugs. When he finds a letter from her lover,
Hey, what are you doing?
What is this?
all her secrets are out in the open.
That's private. Give it back. Give it back to me. That is none of your business. All right?
Guys, that's you.
Kristin felt that the world was caving in upon her
Let it go.
and that Greg was getting ready to reveal her as an adulteress, as a methamphetamine addict. She was going to lose her job, she was going to lose her lover, she was going to lose everything that she'd worked so hard for. And she felt the only way out was to murder her husband.
She's a toxicologist with detailed knowledge of deadly drugs. Her weapon of choice is a substance called fentanyl.
Fentanyl has the same effect as heroin, except it doesn't have the euphoria associated with heroin. It's not normally picked up by routine opiate screens because of its chemical structure.
And Kristin's workplace is full of it.
There were tons of fentanyl missing from the cases that she worked on. There was also a fentanyl standard that was used for testing that was missing.
Shattered by his wife's affair, dulled by painkillers, Greg DeVillers is an easy target.
Here, drink this. What is it? It'll make you feel better. Drink it. All of it?
Soon, the deadly fentanyl is coursing through his body.
One of the big problems with fentanyl, like all narcotics, is that it causes profound respiratory depression. People stop breathing. Their heart continues to beat. There's a lack of oxygen. So fluid builds up in the lungs, and fluid builds up in the brain, and eventually they die.
So pathetic.
Inspired by the movie American Beauty, Kristin does some elaborate set dressing.
Do you remember this, Greg? Do you remember? Hey!
The crime scene indicates to me Kristin's flair for the dramatic in her life. Also a bit of arrogance, thinking that she could actually duplicate a famous scene from a very popular movie in her own husband's murder.
It looks like suicide. The medical examiner agrees.
Kristin had used fentanyl to kill Greg, knowing that her coworkers would investigate the cause of death, that they didn't test for fentanyl. Kristin knows that going in. That's why she chose fentanyl.
Kristin is free to start a new life with her lover. But one more test awaits.
Because Kristin was an employee of the medical examiner's office, they sent the toxicology tests out to private labs. And that's where they found the fentanyl.
It seemed like the suicide of a lovesick man. But the traces of fentanyl prove it's a murder.
Once Greg was under the effect of fentanyl, and a sufficient amount of it, Greg would no longer be able to act purposely. His respirations dropped because of the drug, which would mean that the amount of oxygen to the brain would also drop, and there could be no meaningful activity. He couldn't have spread rose petals. There's no way that he could have engineered all of that.
Had that crime scene not been so elaborate, and had Kristin not been going for the dramatic in that crime scene with her husband, she might not have drawn attention to herself.
Kristin Rossum is found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
Kristin had 3 relationships, one with her husband, one with her lover, Michael Robertson, and one with methamphetamine, and she chose methamphetamine over the other 2.